This is how we kick off the show today with the living legend herself, Letambulu, coming through with Not Yet Uhuru, taken from that album. If I'm not mistaken, it was released back in 1994, just at the dawn of South Africa's democracy, and reflecting, of course, on everything that was going on from a political perspective at that time as we prepared to go in for our first democratic general elections in the April of 1994. And it was still not yet Uhuru, but still relevant even today, all those 30 odd years later. If you ask most South Africans, they'll tell you that it's still not yet Uhuru. And this song was composed by both Mamleta Mbulu and Tata Caiphus Semenya, and both of them credited as well from a lyrical perspective. We're still flying on a high because yesterday we were all out at the Ignite Her Soul experience hosted by Standard Bank and Joy of Jazz, honoring the legacy, the music, and the life and influence of Letambulu. It was a beautiful, beautiful gathering of the female force in the room, with all of the current vocalists taking to the stage and performing some of Leta's most iconic songs, the likes of Brenda Mdambu, the likes of Judith Sipuma, as well as Unokanya. It was incredible. It was a wonderful, wonderful afternoon indeed. If you want to see some of the highlights of what transpired, you can definitely go over to my Instagram at Bridget Masinga and have a look at that. And I think like what was the tender moment for me, of course, Mamleta and Tata Caiphus was there. He was the only male exception that was allowed to be in presence of all the women. What was tender was watching Mamleta watch the new crop of performers sing her music back to her. And there were many moments where she was overcome with emotion, visibly overcome with emotion as they sang her songs and reflected on what her catalog and her life had meant to them and the contribution that she'd made in South African music. So wonderful afternoon indeed. Give them their flowers whilst they can still smell them. That is how we kick off the show today. I hope you had a restful weekend and you managed to put your feet up and take things nice and easy. It's very important to prioritize rest much as we prioritize working. Resting is also a necessary thing for your body. We've got lots on the agenda today, lots of moving parts as well this morning. So I'm going to wait a little bit before I confirm for you what is up on the schedule. But we'll be having some art creative conversations looking at the Art Generation Volume 3, which is returning to the Nyrox Sculpture Park. We're also going to have a conversation around photography as a form of a tool of empowerment and art activism. And one of my favorite people is going to be on the show today, Dr. Alison Bentley. You know Dr. Bentley. She is the sleep doctor, as she's fondly known. So she's going to be on the show today. We're talking sleep hygiene and how much sleep are you getting each day. And I want to ask her, if you have a newborn in the house, how has your sleep routine changed? Maybe she's got some advice for me in as far as that is concerned. 086 000 2032 is the number that you can call us on, and 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp.
Are you looking for the best savings on spectacles? At Specsavers, enjoy 1,500 Rand off when you get tested at South Africa's trusted and most established optical group. Get 1,500 Rand off all frames in store, or use your 1,500 Rand off on our leading lens enhancements, such as drive light lenses that reduce artificial glare whilst driving. Book online or call your nearest store today. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
Bafana Bafana will host Nigeria in a FIFA 2026 World Cup qualifier at the Toyota Stadium on Tuesday, 9 September at 6 p.m. Tickets are now available nationwide and online from 70 Rand for adults and 40 Rand for children at all Ticket Pro outlets, including Spar, Postnet, and all petrol stations. Get your tickets early to avoid disappointment. Come in Bafana Bafana supporter gear, ready to sing for a win. Gates will open at 3 p.m. If you are not in Bloemfontein, catch the game on SABC2. For more information, visit safa.net and at Bafana Bafana on all social media channels.
SAFM celebrates its 89th birthday this month by giving listeners an exclusive opportunity to attend the prestigious Joy of Jazz taking place at the Sandton Convention Centre from the 26th to the 28th of September 2025. To stand a chance to win these sought-after tickets, simply SMS SAFM 89 followed by your name to 41391 and stay tuned to SAFM as we could be calling you. SAFM is the official media partner for the Dipala stage at the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz. Entries open from the 7th of August and close on the 31st of August 2025. Winners will be randomly selected and called from the 1st of September 2025. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. T's and C's apply. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
So at this point in time, if a person is a foreign national who's documented, you're obliged to provide healthcare service if they arrive at a hospital. If the same person is a foreign national who's undocumented, do I take it, you are also obliged to do the same thing?
For two reasons. Yes, because of the Constitution, we cannot discriminate against anybody based on the immigration status. That's number one. Number two, our healthcare workers have signed an oath when they graduate, Hippocratic oath, which says they will never discriminate against any healthcare user based on whatever reason.
Foster Mohade, the spokesperson for the Department of Health.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM. Find the podcast at safm.co.za. Bridget Masinga is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
All right, as we get into our first conversation with Tebogo Mwalusi, who's the convener of the Creative 20, calling upon all cultural and creative practitioners in Johannesburg and on the African continent to be a part of the creative conversation. It is dubbed the Creative Economy's G20 Voice. How are you doing this afternoon, Tebogo?
I'm very well, thank you. And how are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you so much for the time. Much appreciated. Okay, let's get a background understanding of the Creative Economy's G20. What is the Creative 20?
Well, the Creative 20 is a response to the G20 summit moment. We all know that the member states across the world are going to be descending on this beautiful tip of Africa called Johannesburg. And the creative economy, we wanted to leverage this moment to be a lot more present, to be a lot more visible, and to table some of our thoughts around the future of the creative economy. We are all, or at least we should be mindful of the contribution that the creative economy makes to the South African economy. We contribute up to 3% of GDP, almost the same, if not above, agriculture. And so we are quite a significant player and contributor to the full story of our economy as South Africa. And we believe we should have a seat at the table to craft a new opportunity and platform to deal with unemployment, particularly youth unemployment.
Mm-hmm. Now, you March, or rather you launched the first sessions around the Creative 20 back in July. And we are now wrapping up August. What was on the table of the agenda back then, and what kind of traction have you seen over the last 2-3 months?
Yeah, so we started off with a series of engagements. The first was a digital engagement with Dr. Maria Paula McGurk, who has written a research piece around the creative economy and the creative cities in Johannesburg. And she hosted a session to break that down and share her research, which was very interesting. We then hosted at Gallery Momo with a panel discussion where we spoke around really transforming Johannesburg in terms of its creative logic and economic logic. If you remember, Johannesburg was created as a mining town, and part of our provocation is that mining town philosophy, idea, and approach has never left us, and we need a new economic logic that is a lot more fit for purpose, that is also, looking towards the future, because we're not a mining town anymore, and yet we haven't replaced that economic logic with something that really connects and takes full advantage of our demographic dividend. We're a young nation. We've got incredibly amazing young people who continuously show us their ability, whether you're talking about Tyler or a Black Coffee or the Major League DJs. We are constantly exporting our creative and cultural capital to the world. And I think it's important that we start re-looking at Johannesburg and structuring and presenting it as the creative capital of the world. So those were the series of discussions, and there was a lot that was touched on in that regard.
Now, Tebogo, how do the CCIs ultimately tap in and maximize on on this positioning as the creative capital of the world? And I fully agree with you, right? A lot of people don't actually understand the data around the CCI's contribution to the GDP, whether we're looking at long-term or short-term employment. It is a significant, and some data even suggests significantly surpasses even agriculture. So how does the CCI then tap into that and maximize on this moment?
The first thing is we must own the moment. Creativity, whether it was the first industrial revolution where we harnessed fire and we were able to modernize, civilization, creativity has always been at the heart of shaping society. And unfortunately, over the years, we've taken a back seat in taking that very critical role of leading and shaping society. So I think the first thing we must do is own the narrative and really start shaping the world that we want to see. The second is, in order for us to be taken seriously, we need to be organized. And it's not organized, in the way that traditionally other sectors may be organized, because the creative sector in and of itself is quite unique. We operate based on distributed networks, and it is these networks that really build our sense of freedom and ability to move forward as a sector. So part of what we're doing is we're driving a Creative 20 pledge, which can be found on change.org, where we are asking creative practitioners and those who consume and support the arts to rally behind the pledge. And it's not a petition. We're not shouting. We're not marching on anybody. We're just wanting to show our collective influence and say, look, we are able to organize ourselves. We are asking to be seen, and we want the Creative 20 to be recognized as an official engagement group, just like we've got the W20 and the Y20 and the B20. The Creative 20 should also exist as a formal global engagement group that can harness the power of creativity across the world.
Tebogo, I'm not sure if we are on speaker or not. If we are, if I can so kindly ask you to take us off speaker as we continue the conversation.
Sure.
Part of the call was for the creative and cultural practitioners to stand together with a shared vision, right?
Yeah.
And one needs to understand why this matters now more than ever. But also understand whether or not, as we go into this G20, or as we've gone into this G20 year, has there already been a collective vision by the creative and cultural industries? Because some people might say that we pull at different directions. Even if we look at things like, the artist protection bills, we pull in different directions at various industries. So then how do we come together as cultural and creative practitioners to stand together under one vision banner?
Yeah, so to the first question, why now? Because we have a global opportunity to tell our story. Just like we had in the World Cup 2010 at least, we must take full advantage of the fact that creativity can be one of the facilitators of discussion and engagement across the globe. And so while the summit is going to be key in highlighting the realities of what it means to be a creative entrepreneur or a creative practitioner, we have to build something even more sustainable after the fact. We don't want, after the summit, to close shop and, wait for the next summit to happen. And so Creative 20 transitions from being a movement to becoming an institution that will serve and service, creative entrepreneurs and practitioners for the years to come. So that's the first question around why now. It's opportune, it's strategic, and it's important that we elevate ourselves in our agenda on the global discussion platforms. The second is, the idea that we're fragmented is sometimes a way to try and, make us look unserious. And I don't think that's the case. We are not a homogeneous, sector. The creative economy is expansive and it's very complex. If I recall, we've got 14 to 15 subsectors of the creatives and cultural industry. And so it is not as easy to just say, well, why don't you guys just get along? We never expect the same from financial services or from manufacturing or from any of the other core sectors. So why must the creative sector be treated any differently? Even in a single subsector, there are different players at different parts of the value chain. So there is a bit of work that has to happen around, sitting around the table and finding each other. And where we don't, to find ways to make things work, because you do have diverging interests depending on where you are within the CCI and in the value chain. And that's normal and that's okay. Like I said, we're not unique and we shouldn't be chastised for being different. But it is important that our vision statements become a compelling one. And it goes back to the two that I mentioned. Number one, it is to recognize that creativity is our superpower. If you look at the essence of the African people, creativity is embedded in almost every single aspect of our daily lives. The fact that we've got listeners tuning into this conversation that you and I are having is on the basis of creativity and the creative sector, because media and radio and conversation is at the heart of creativity in itself. So that's kind of one of the first parts of the vision, is recognizing our superpower and harnessing that for greatness and for collective well-being. Yeah. The second and critical one is to this creative cities concept. As the Creative 20, one of the things we're going to be doing is applying to UNESCO as part of their creative cities network to get Johannesburg recognized as a creative city.
Let me hold you there for a second as we get into the headline news, and then we'll come back. We'll pick up from getting Johannesburg recognized as a creative city. It's gone 1:30. It's time for us to catch up with Ondel.
Thank you, Bridget. On the news headlines, the Minister of Electricity and Energy, Dr. Hosientsho Ramokgopa, has announced the formation of a dedicated energy technical working group. It's aimed at assisting the Machabeng municipality in the Free State to strengthen its electricity infrastructure and capacity. The city of Ekurhuleni has acknowledged receiving court papers regarding the Boksburg tanker explosion, but it says its legal team is still studying them. And President Cyril Ramaphosa has asserted that South Africa's national interest will forever remain independent, reflecting on the country's constitutional values and national priorities. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
Do great solutions start with good conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365, Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za. You are listening to The Full Circle.
We are in conversation with Tebogo Moalusi, who's the convener of Creative 20. And Tebogo, before we went into the headline news, you were just talking to us around, the creative city concept and getting Johannesburg recognized as a creative city.
Yes, so UNESCO has got a Creative Cities Network program where a city applies to be part of that network of cities, and there are obviously a series of benefits that then, translate from being able to interact and connect with other cities, the exchange of different forms of capital across the seas, and we want Johannesburg to be, recognized as a creative city. It's really about crowding in the various forms of capital, social capital, political capital, financial capital, to enable Johannesburg to service the creative economy better. We don't have enough theaters. Our live music spaces keep closing down. We don't have enough animation and gaming facilities. Our bandwidth at times is a challenge in terms of people accessing Wi-Fi and fast speed internet. And you can't build a creative city if you haven't invested in the infrastructure and also the support services that come with that. Far too many of our creative practitioners don't have legal and financial services support. Our financial services sector needs to be able to provide us with products that speak to the way we earn money and the way we build assets so that we can have a livelihood. And so part of this Creative Cities campaign is not just, a tactical thing. It's about the philosophy of the city, but also how do we enable the city to work in this way. The way we see it is there are four intersections. There's the creative economy, which you and I have discussed. There's the education economy. Johannesburg is one of the epicenters of education from ECD all the way to post-matric. We've got so many education facilities, and there's an economy around education. There's also the tourism economy, which intersects and interlocks with education and tourism. And the last is the digital and tech economy. So with all of those four present in Johannesburg and being enabled and being fast-tracked, we will increase Johannesburg's ability to be a competitive city that attracts international capital and investment, and that also enables people to move between, the various global cities, to partner, to collaborate, to learn, and to bring back ideas that we can then grow and build, a full-on creative economy. So that's what excites us about this idea of making Johannesburg a creative city. And we say that creativity is the new gold.
Absolutely.
So let's activate it, let's harness it, let's beneficiate it, and send it to the world and make sure that creative practitioners don't get buried using crowdfunding, mechanisms. We are sick and tired of that reality, and we can do better, and we should.
Absolutely. I'm forced to wrap up our conversation, but I had a curiosity about your thoughts around President Thabo Mbeki calling on African leaders to stand together economically and lead the continent's development ahead of the G20. It speaks to a collective African agenda, right? And I know that even from a creative and cultural perspective, for instance, if we look at our brothers and sisters in Nigeria, who have one of the biggest entertainment industries in the world, is there a second layer to these Creative 20 conversations that looks at collaboration on a continental scale to push an African creative agenda?
Absolutely. One of the pillars of the Creative 20 is what we call the Global Cultural Diplomacy Framework. And that's why we exist within a G20 setting, because we must exist to interlock and connect with other countries. And leveraging diplomacy, we are able to effectively build partnerships from government to government to business to consumer, where we can build strong partnerships based on our African identity. We've always said that when South Africa hosts these massive events, it's because we are representing the continent at large. And so as the Creative 20, we take that responsibility very seriously. And, in our submissions and the work that we do, we are always thinking with an Africa lens rather than a South Africa lens, albeit whilst respecting the uniqueness of some of the countries within the continent.
Awesome. Tebogo Maolosi, thank you so much for the time. Much appreciated. Convener of the Creative 20. We're going to take a quick pause and then we come back. We catch up with the folks from the BMW Art Generation. We're talking Art Generation Volume 3, which is returning to Nyrock Sculpture Park.
This year, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival presents 3 unforgettable days deep in the art and heart of jazz. From the 26th, 27th, and 28th of September, Umu Sankare, Ababemu, Jasmia Horn, Silent Law and the Noisemakers, Najbonk Trio, Michelle Ndingio-Jello, Valencini, Gabby Mutuba, and over 50 world-class acts will be ready to welcome you and yours to 4 magnificent stages of the Sandton Convention Center. Take me there. Buy your tickets at Ticketmaster now.
Early hours of the morning, our champions of democracy open voting stations for us. 55% of the 27.6 million registered voters are women. We salute your strength and leadership. Late into the night, they count votes for us. Majority of women voted in the last elections. We salute women championing democracy and shaping South Africa's future. Make your voice heard at the ballot. All roads lead to the 2026 local government elections. Register or update your details. Show up and let your vote count. Here's to Women's Month. Women champion democracy. Visit elections.org.za for more or call 0800 11 8000. This message is brought to you by the IEC.
Well, listen, have you discovered the TV license WhatsApp yet? Right? We see you binging on the reruns. We see you living your best dramas and loving the SABC Plus sports replays. But now paying your TV license fits the vibe, right? All you have to do is SMS hi on WhatsApp to 07760 69 060. Get your balance, make a payment, or set up a debit order all in one chat. There's no queues, no please hold, just convenience that feels like it should have been here all along. So, because every screen in South Africa is a stage and yours is lit. Why wait? Send hi on WhatsApp to 07760 69 060 and get your TV license sorted today. Hashtag your screen, your story.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
All right, let's have a quick catch up with Kim Candon, Fair Manager for the BMW Art Generation, which is taking place come month end on the 30th of August, and it's returning to the Nyrox Sculpture Park. How are you doing this afternoon?
Hi, Bridget. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Let's talk the 3rd volume of the Art Generation. Firstly, some context for some of our listeners as to, what is the BMW Art Generation?
Lovely. So the BMW Art Generation is a conference, essentially, of thought leaders, academics, curators, artists coming together with a great lineup of culture. So bringing in music, art, all together in a celebration of everything that we do as contemporary practitioners on the African continent, and celebrating, bringing joyousness out as spring approaches, the September. So, lots to be look forward to. Great music lineup, Saki, Sipa Hotsticks Mabuze, Monet, and a very interesting panel of talks together with great food, great drinks, and exhibition of art.
It's a very immersive program. This perhaps unpack for us some of the thematics, especially when it comes to the issues, or rather the dialogues that will be tabled this year, and what folks can look forward to.
Yeah, so very excited that it's a 3rd iteration. When we kicked it off in 2023, we brought out this idea that we needed to have meaningful transmission of information between 2 generations of of practitioners, people that are now very celebrated in their industries, whether be it art, be it music, all forms of culture. And so we've created themes that have always been very relevant to the African continent. This year, it is the theming overall is a topology between image and imagination. And that is about how we as Africans look at ourselves to create our own meaningful interpretation of how we see ourselves, how our future is, how we deem our future for ourselves, and how we want to build that future for ourselves. So very introspective, very generative, and always looking at how we define our own narratives.
We've just come out of a conversation with my guest, Tebucho, talking around the Creative 20. And plugging into the G20 to amplify and magnify opportunity and space for creatives. How are our sort of platforms like Art Generation already mobilizing those kinds of conversations, both in the city as well as continentally?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the BMW Art Generation kicks off our culture month, really, that FNB Art Joburg holds every year. So, I mean, it's been great to see the G20 opening up all these doors with the C20 and B20 as well. But, I think all of them are necessary. Through the BMW Art Generation, we've really bring to the fore conversations that need to happen. So within the name of it, Art Generation, we've themed it and named it that way because we wanted to bring out the very important aspect of transfer of knowledge, of one generation that has done incredible things, that have become recognized, together with that younger generation that needs to take on this information and learn from it. So it's a program that brings together things that are quite important at this time, but also very relevant at this time.
Absolutely. For those, Kim, for those of our listeners that are, interested in coming through to experience it all, because also NIROX being the perfect venue for the Art Generation, how do they go about it?
So we have our tickets available on through Tixa and through fnbartjoburg.com. Tickets are extremely well priced. So I think it's a 500 Rand ticket for the entire day, and you get to see these three great musical acts, Monet, Sipho Hotsticks Mabuze, and Msaki, as well as two incredible thoughtful talks that happen with artists that are extremely well known around the world, have exhibitions in all the major museums, names like Kimangwa Luhe, Zanele Moholi, hosted by incredible moderators, Bongani Madondo, for instance. So, a really great program and themed in that way. We also have the BMW Center for Art Education popping up. That's a partnership with Zeitz Mocha. And they'll be holding workshops for the young kids, so parents are able to, enjoy themselves while their kids also get quite a interesting learning experience out of it. And so there's also great food, always great food at our events.
Well, listen, it's a great afternoon out indeed, I think, for not just art lovers, but those with a curious mind as well around the artistic and creative sector. That was Kim Candon, Fair Manager for the BMW Art Generation, and it's going to be out at NIROX Sculpture Fair come the 30th of August. If you want to go check it out, tickets are available for that. Appreciate the time as always. It's approaching 10-2. We are going to just hit a quick pause, and then we come back on the other side and continue with our creative conversations.
The National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Well, what about the struggles that you experienced, the three of you? I mean, tell us what happened firstly.
We were approached by somebody from the right, a guy, I hear now Ian Cameron says that it was a City of Cape Town employee. I didn't see, I was looking at my phone at the time. He said to us, he asked us to wind down a window, and Ian did that, and he warned us. He said, guys, please be careful. But he was a friendly guy and, clearly knows the area. And as we proceeded to kind of go over the intersection, we kind of hit a little bit of traffic. And the next thing Lisa said that, something doesn't feel right. why would this guy warn us? And then the next thing, they smashed Ian's window with a brick. And I realized at that moment that we were being attacked.
Nicholas Gottsel is the DA MP in the Western Cape.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM. Find the podcast at safm.co.za. This Women's Month, SAFM stands with the women shaping South Africa's future under the theme, Building Resilient Economies for All. We honor the pioneers, the problem solvers, and the everyday heroes driving change. Stay tuned as SAFM brings you powerful stories and meaningful conversations that move us. SAFM, celebrating women, celebrating progress. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Bridget Masinga is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Okay, let's catch up with Ujabulani Dlamini, project manager for the Of Soul and Joy photography program. And we're looking at the upcoming 5th edition of the biannual photo festival, which is going to be happening in October. How are you doing this afternoon, Jabulani?
I'm well, and how are you, Bridget?
I'm great. Thank you so much for the time. Appreciated. First and foremost, let's get a sense. Am I looking at a program within a program? The Soul of Joy photography program. How does that sort of fit into the photo festival?
Of Soul and Joy is a photography project that started in 2012, which is just a platform for youth to learn photography and to express themselves. It's an expression language. And so it's mainly photography, but for me, I like saying it's a platform where we expose kids from the township to photography as a language of expression. And each and every 3 years we do our photo festival where we celebrate, because we won't do that. We can't do that alone, but community, we're working with our main collaborators, which is the community.
Yeah.
So the festival becomes a core celebration. So we're celebrating together with the community of Thokoza and the surroundings here.
It's in the heart of Thokoza where the project and the program finds expression, right? And what was the motivation behind sort of setting shop up within the Thokoza community, and what has been some of the impact that you've seen from, the young photographers that are part of this program?
Sure. For me, it was especially Bushebuzile. It's called the project. We run the project on Saturdays, every Saturday in Wednesdays, in a school called Bushebuzile in Thokoza. The first reason was that they had art as one of the subjects then in 2012, because we started in 2012, and that was the main reason. And because of Easy Gas is not far from also from Thokoza. So that was also one of which Easy Gas is one of our funders, Easy Gas and Rubis Mesenat. So in South Africa, it's Easy Gas, so it's not far from Thokoza. And I would say the impact is very huge for me. I remember, like each and every time you think of the time when you're recruiting new students, when they don't know anything about photography, and after 3 years, and you listen to them presenting their own stories, speaking to public, looking at their work. And some of them are just driving with one of our students, and I was saying to them, this project of Soul and Joy for me is grooming breadwinners, because most of them they become breadwinners at all. And that for me is an impact that they're also impacting the community. Like how it works at ECAS is that other parents would love their kids to be, everyone we love is doing the beautiful things, and hence then for me, Soul and Joy has that impact also in community itself. We see it today in Thokoza, they know about photography.
Yeah.
They know about photography and storytelling through the Of Soul and Joy project.
Yeah. And the truth is that photography has been an integral part of black communities for generations, right? Everyone knows who grew up of a particular generation, our mothers' generations, our grandmothers' generations of Umalume Smangmang, who would come around on Saturdays and Sundays and take photos, you know, of everyone dressed in their Sunday best. And also we've seen some of the best sort of historians, I call them photographic historians, whether we're looking at the Drum Boys and the likes of Alf Kumalo, who have come out from townships within South Africa and lent their voice to the history pages of the country. So there's great potential in our neighborhoods to sort of unearth who the next generation of storytellers are going to be.
That's true. Because for me, one thing that I've learned is that we've met our great-great-grandparents through photographs, and also looking at the role that photography played in the freedom that we have today. You know, we realize, during Sharpeville shooting, Soweto uprising, those photographs made an impact worldwide. Hence, today, they had an influence in the freedom that we have today. But even today, photography is still playing the role of influencing change. Because of we use, for me is like we use photography. We use photography to start conversations that are not easy. Because of between the generation, my generation, my parents, and the young ones, like always there's that difficulties of having certain conversations. But because of photograph becomes a starting point of building this environment, safe space for us to have that conversation between these different generations. And
Absolutely.
I think then it becomes an influential tool in a way.
Absolutely. Very influential tool. And I think in recent years, photography and photographers have really found prominence once again when you look at using photography as sort of art activism, right? On the one hand, you have internationally renowned photographers like Zanele Muholi, for instance, who champion the voice and plight of the LGBTQI plus communities within Black and Brown community. And then you have the likes of the recent F&B Art Prize winner for 2023, Lindo Guhle Subukwe, who is influenced by the great political photographers, political photojournalists of yesteryear, and he continues that legacy of documenting the history of South Africa in modern times. There's still a gap for art activism through photography.
And Lindo Guhle, thank you for mentioning that. And Lindo Guhle comes from is part of the project. He's one of the students that started in 2012 with the project. Yeah, and that is the impact that I'm talking about for me. That always humbles me, in a way that, when seeing someone succeeding like that, and continuing, because I believe that there's still these young ones who are growing from the project, also continuing to go into a world stage.
Yeah. All right. So in terms of the festival, the photo festival, that's happening on the 18th of October at Buzile High School.
Buzile High School on the 18th of October from 12 o'clock to 5 o'clock. We're exhibiting images because of the project, as we said, it started in 2012. And we are growing. We're starting to go to, we collaborated with the youth from Imrafe Hostel in Soweto. And we also went to Nkandla in KZN, one of the schools, and also in Limpopo and Tzanini. And we're going to showcase their work and create this platform where we have conversations around these photographs. And we celebrate also. And in that, I think, in a way, there's music, there are conversations between the young photographers and the older generation, and also the parents, which are communities. Because if we can have those impact, especially I'm aiming at the parents, especially, because that's where I think the challenges becomes in terms of understanding. So I think when we that's what we're targeting, the parents.
And
the community.
my last question to you, Jabulani, is, just as you're speaking about expanding into other territories like Onkandla, etc., these are very much rural spaces where perhaps, underfunded, under-resourced. How do you manage to, and photography can be a very expensive career or even a hobby to take up. How do you manage to get equipment into the hands of children who participate?
No, thank you for this question. I mean, for me, and this brings me to always thank you, Bridget Masinga Cultural Fund and EasyCares. They are full funders of this project. So, hence, I always, for me, I was like, because I've always wanted to contribute, but finances are always a challenge. And when I was given this opportunity to work with Rubis and EasyCares, for me, it became a way of enabling me to reach in community. And so I always like to thank them, Rubis Masinga and EasyCares for their support for the whole 12 years. Yes.
Yeah. Wonderful stuff. Well, listen, long may this partnership last in order to bring out more Lindoguhles from your project. We wish you the very best. So 18th of October at Buhlebuzila High School is where the biannual photo festival is happening. It's the 5th edition, and this is celebrating the work that is done through the Of Soul and Joy program that's housed in the heart of Thokoza, really just harnessing and equipping young people of the community with the tools to create alternative mediums of expression using photography as their voice. That is where we leave it for the first hour of the show. The news is coming up at the top of the hour, and then we'll come back on the other side of 2 o'clock. And we're having a conversation for our career corners today. Why entrepreneurship is key to South Africa's future. We're going to have that conversation. And then we're going to catch up with one of my favorite people, Dr. Alison Bentley. She's a sleep doctor. We've spoken to her before on this show. And we're looking at sleep hygiene conversations. How much sleep are you getting each day? I'm not getting much. This is why they've scheduled Dr. Ellison on the show. Hopefully she'll give me some pointers as to how do I get a little human being to go to sleep long enough so that mommy can also get some sleep. That's coming up after 2.
Thank you, Bridget. On the top stories, 2 killed in Philippi East on the Cape Flats, and City of Ekurhuleni lawyers study papers on Parkspec tanker explosion. For SFM News, I'm on Delambana, and a very good day. 2 people have been shot and killed at a taxi rank in Philippi East on the Cape Flats. Police spokesperson Malcolm Boye says unknown gunmen opened fire at 6 adults aged between 35 and 43 earlier today, leaving 1 victim dead at the scene. He says the second victim died in hospital. 4 others, in which 3 are taxi drivers, are being treated at a medical facility. No arrests have been made. Boye says the incident follows another shooting earlier this morning which happened in Khayelitsha.
2 men armed approached the Vuyani taxi rank where they opened fire and killed a taxi driver and wounded 2 others. They were transported to a medical facility for treatment. The motive for these attacks are believed to be taxi conflict related.
The airports company South Africa has more than doubled its profit after tax from 472 million rand to 1.1 billion rand in the 2024-25 financial year. The financial performance will boost investor confidence and show the state-owned company is firmly out of the COVID-19 slump. AXA CEO Mpumi Mpofu released the annual financial results in Campton Park, Ekurhuleni.
Global traffic at the end of March in this financial year has recovered, and it has been a very exciting 9.5 billion of passengers. We are just short in South Africa at 92% of meeting the 2019 figures.
The Minister of Electricity and Energy, Dr. Khozientsho Ramokgopa, has announced the formation of a dedicated energy technical working group. It's aimed at assisting the Machabeng municipality in the Free State to strengthen its electricity infrastructure and capacity. Ramokgopa says this initiative forms part of government's broader efforts to enhance service delivery and ensure energy security. He says it will also support municipalities in overcoming ongoing electricity supply challenges as well as mounting debt to power utility Eskom. The city of Ekurhuleni has acknowledged receiving court papers regarding the Boksburg tanker explosion, but it says its legal team is still studying them. A 65 million rand lawsuit has been filed in the High Court in Johannesburg nearly 2 years after the devastating incident in which 41 people were killed and more than 100 others injured. LHL attorneys representing 67 victims is seeking compensation for losses, injuries and trauma caused by the December 2022 tragedy. Associate Attorney at LHL Attorneys Gabriel Berkowitz says the lawsuit is targeting Infinite Fleet Transport, innovative staffing solutions and the Metro, accusing them of negligence in the disaster.
The 65 million at this stage is our best estimate based on the evidence we currently have available to us. Each claim is calculated differently depending on the types of losses each of the plaintiffs suffered. So there's different calculations based on past medical expenses, future medical expenses, past and future loss of earnings. And then on the point of how emotional trauma is calculated, we've got quite a bit of case law to claim a specific amount of damages based on what previous case law has allocated for people that have suffered similar types of trauma.
President Cyril Ramaphosa has asserted that South Africa's national interest will forever remain independent, reflecting the country's constitutional values and national priorities. He was writing in his letter to the nation today after attending the 9th Tokyo International Conference on Africa Development in Japan. Ramaphosa says at a time when the country faces potentially high tariffs imposed by the U.S., participating in such forums is part of measures to reduce dependence on historical markets, secure market access and attract investment. He says South Africa will continue to engage with partners in both the global north and south. Recapping the top story, 2 people have been shot and killed at a taxi rank in Philippi East on the Cape Flats. Police spokesperson Malcolm Boye says unknown gunmen opened fire at 6 adults aged between 35 and 43 earlier today, leaving 1 victim dead at the scene. I am on Delambana for SFM News Headlines at 2:30.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
This Women's Month, SAFM stands with the women shaping South Africa's future. Under the theme, Building Resilient Economies for All, we honor the pioneers, the problem solvers, and the everyday heroes driving change. Stay tuned as SAFM brings you powerful stories and meaningful conversations that move us. SAFM, celebrating women, celebrating progress. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Through sit-ups and downs, you've always come through. So take a little time with my baby, who's for to do and just a little loneliness. Only for a moment, girl. Just a little loneliness. Only for a moment, girl. You need a bit of time, you need a bit of time, you need a bit of time, 'cause you feel a little lonely. You need a bit of time, that's only for a moment. You need a bit of time, 'cause you feel a little lonely. You need a bit of time, it's only for a moment, girl.
The National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Zandile Dabula, together with the Minister of Health, Aaron Matswaleri, will be meeting up sometime yesterday. So the meeting happened. What happened?
We're trying to find each other on how do we best assist each other with this burning issue of our medical facilities. And both ourselves and the minister do confirm that this is a burning issue and it's an issue that needs to be addressed. But the main department that needs to play a critical role here is the Department of Home Affairs. And I did confirm to him that I've tried several times to get hold of the Minister of Home Affairs. He would not even respond to my messages and not even come back. There's the arrogance that we get from the people in government.
Zandile Dabula, the leader of Operation Dudula.
Ashraf Gada on SAFM. SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105 FM in Polokwane. SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365, Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za. Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday, the 23rd of July for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows, and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers, and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC. Bridget Masinga is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X. at SFM Radio.
Alrighty, let's catch up with Sean Fuchs now, Centennial Schools CEO and founder, and we're having a conversation around the importance of entrepreneurship as being one of the keys to South Africa's future. World Entrepreneurs Day is observed on the 21st of August, and it's focused really on celebrating the bold, innovative and creative entrepreneurs who create jobs and fuel economies. How are you doing this afternoon, Sean?
Good afternoon, Bridget. I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's only a pleasure. Let's talk about let's start with the importance of introducing entrepreneurship in schools. There's been a great conversation around how do we begin to consider this as South Africa, and what benefit is this going to be for South African school leavers?
I think I almost think we need to take a step back and we need to look at our curriculum, and the curriculum needs a complete overhaul. The curriculum was almost designed in the late 1990s. And so you can imagine in the late 1990s, we didn't even have things like smartphones. And so much has changed. And when we look at current needs, certainly in South Africa, I think entrepreneurs create a huge amount of employment and actually could lead to a huge amount of success for South Africa. So it makes sense then to start developing curriculum around entrepreneurship, where you are not only planting the seeds within students, but you're also creating opportunities for students to start their own businesses and actually see what it's like running a business. And the problem at the moment is it's too academic, it's too theory-based, it's not practical enough.
I mean, listen, what you're saying makes absolute sense. And I think it also speaks to how do we critically equip and develop South African youth for the future, especially when we know that there is this big focused call towards creating more entrepreneurs.
I agree. I think South Africans are naturally entrepreneurial, just in terms of how they think. I mean, South Africans don't rely on the state. They don't rely on local government. And they have to sort out their own issues. So you take that almost a natural will on entrepreneurship and put it into a curriculum and create almost formalize a generation of entrepreneurs in schools. What an absolute pleasure.
And this speaks, I think, what we're talking about here speaks to the relationship between education and joblessness, because it's almost like symbiotic, this thing. One hand is connected to the other.
Yeah, absolutely. Bridget, I want to give you a lovely example. We, at Centennial Schools, we decided we were going to do a version of almost Shark Tank, so the popular television series of Shark Tank. And we did not want to create just a ordinary market day. So the whole idea behind creating the entrepreneurs who ultimately are going to employ people was to create what we call the next gen. And we literally gave the students a briefing. We said, stay away from food and beverage. Your customer base is parents, students, and teachers. And we then shortlisted 15 students, business ideas. And then they went on a crash course with parents, where we got entrepreneurial parents in, and they taught them and they gave them real practical experience creating a business plan, designing, from design to concept. And eventually the students, after 6 weeks, had to pitch to 5 judges. They had 15 minutes, they pitched, and we finalized on 3 students, actually grade 7 students, who then came up with businesses, ideas, concepts. They themselves will now be employing fellow students to help run their businesses. So if that's on a micro level, imagine how we can extend that into a macro level.
The one thing that we know about South Africa, right, is that we've got a very vibrant startup and small business sector. But the other central question is always around how do we sustain booming startups for the purpose of growth and driving this sort of job creation in the country. What kind of considerations at a school level would need to be put in place here or considered in order to answer that question around sustainability of startups and small business?
I would use technology, and that's exactly what we're doing. So we gamify students' business experiences by running businesses. So they're making mistakes. First of all, they're making real business decisions. How many people am I employing? Where am I going to place my business? What type of product am I going to sell? And we actually get them to start with a simple little lemonade stand. And once they've made those business decisions, they will start trading. And it's all gamified. So students making the mistakes will learn from those mistakes without it actually being a real business. But the point being that the sustainability comes from practical experience and making mistakes and being able to correct them.
I want us to quickly take a pause here, Sean, and then we'll come back on the other side. And we'll look at the role of AI and technology in advancing sort of this new curriculum, or even the consideration around how we focus entrepreneurship in South African schools. Let's take a quick pause. It is The Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, on SAFM.
Do you know what's hiding behind colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front of package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front of package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, HEALA.org, by 30 September.
Amakosi have a different strategy. They want to collect maximum points in the early days of the season. While reigning champions, Masandawana, want to sing their happy song, Double Yellow. This is the Betway Premiership. Catch Mzansi's Clash of Giants, Kaizer Chiefs versus Mamelodi Sundowns, this Wednesday, 27 August at 6:30 p.m. live on SABC3 and SABC Plus. Then on SABC radio stations at 7:30. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
From the brilliant buzz of Joburg to the beautiful beaches of the Eastern Cape, Fly Safair has you covered. That's right, from 1st November, we'll be flying from Lanseria Airport to both East London and PE, just in time for the holiday rush. Tickets are on sale now from only 770 Rand. So whether it's for work or play, plan your Eastern Cape escape from Lanseria or vice versa. Book now at flysafair.co.za. Fly Safair, for the love of fly. T's and C's apply.
SAFM celebrates its 89th birthday this month by giving listeners an exclusive opportunity to attend the prestigious Joy of Jazz taking place at the Sandton Convention Centre from the 26th to the 28th of September 2025. To stand a chance to win these sought-after tickets, simply SMS SAFM 89 followed by your name to 41391 and stay tuned to SAFM as we could be calling you. SAFM is the official media partner for the Dipala stage at the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz. Entries open from the 7th of August and close on the 31st of August 2025. Winners will be randomly selected and called from the 1st of September 2025. SMSs are charged at R1.50 per SMS. Free SMSs and SMS bundles do not apply. T's and C's apply. You are listening to The Full Circle.
In conversation with Sean Fuchs, Centennial Schools CEO and founder, having a conversation around entrepreneurship and perhaps how this could be a key driver in South Africa's future, and as well as creating young entrepreneurs at school level. Let's talk AI and technology, of which you opened the gates towards, Sean. How do we leverage on this to create employment opportunities, and what considerations do schools need to now put in place moving into the future?
I think that with AI, you almost want the students to understand that AI becomes a business partner within your business as an entrepreneur. So you use AI to test ideas. It's going to give you very good analysis, and you're able to actually use data from AI to understand your business and to test it. It also then allows the student the freedom to move on to the creativity, and rather than just focusing on mundane tasks, which they can get artificial intelligence to do. So, by leveraging it as a partner, rather than just a separate tool, I think it certainly can help entrepreneurship within school environments.
Absolutely. Also, one of the things that I wanted to find out, the types of businesses when you run these programs in school. What are the types of businesses that students have created? And obviously, we're looking at them now as the next generation of founders.
So you're looking, you're absolutely right. So we're looking at, it's interesting. When we ran our Next Gen Founders program, aka Shark Tank, we specifically said stay away from food and beverage, because they almost tend to lean to that as an easy option. And students then had to come up with really creative ideas. So they looked at trends. So what's trending? Socks are a huge thing at the moment, and a student came up with a business where creating different color socks, different branding on the socks, etc. We had a student with coming up with a production line. So a production line creating out of material different packaged items that are useful around the home, useful in the school environment, in a car. And then the last one of the finalists came up with something which was small packs, whether it was small first aid packs, small sewing packs that you could just put in your handbag or in your cubby hole. So the convenience. So they were very, very practical in what they were coming up with. We had one student who had a brilliant idea that said, listen, all of us, we only literally end up wearing 20 to 30% of our wardrobe. Now, if you think about it, how much stuff have you got sitting, just staying there? And then saying, okay, well, let's get access to the balance that you don't use. We clean it, we repackage it, and we actually sell it online, which there's a huge market for.
And I'm interested also in finding out, by way of when you sort of sit post program and you do a SWOT analysis with the students and some of the stakeholders, what is the conversation there from them around their observations when they conceptualize and ultimately bring to market their businesses? As well as some of maybe the learnings that they take away from that, to say, well, if I was to execute this within a real life context, this would be what I then need to consider. These would be the challenges that I need to look out for, and probably the things that I'd have to amend in order for the business to be successful in a real life scenario.
Yeah, it's a lovely question, Bridget, because I think the biggest learning curve for all the students was scalability. Because how am I going to be able to produce X amount over such a period of time and sustain the business? So scalability was a huge factor, and I think that's something that we every year, because we're going to run this program every year, we will build into that 6-week sort of the school of hard knocks in terms of entrepreneurship. We'll build in these factors that we have taken away, like for example the scalability, so that students understand that better.
Makes perfect sense to me. Well, listen, it sounds like you guys are leading from the front there at Centennial Schools and already plugging into a broader conversation around equipping young South African school leavers for the future that is in the present, not so much in the future. Very exciting stuff indeed. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Much appreciated. That was Sean Fuchs, who's the Centennial Schools CEO and founder. And that's one of the big questions, even on this show. Oftentimes, various stakeholders come through, especially from the education sector. And the question on the table is, how do you equip South African youth, not only for the jobs that will exist in the future, but also equip them to be successful entrepreneurs. If the call is we need more entrepreneurs in the country, we need more people driving the economy off their innovation and ideas, but how do you sort of inculcate that thinking from a school level? Because by the time you get to a varsity level, you are hopefully dealing with people that have that foundation base for entrepreneurship, and now you're just honing in and tightening in the innovation and the thinking, and allowing them to really succeed. Because as we said, we have a vibrant environment for startups and small businesses. The trick is, how do we get them to a point of sustainability and scale up? That is the trick. So it's lovely to see that schools are now taking the initiative to re-examine their curricula and see how they can sort of bolster it and maybe even rethink it so it fits what is required for this current crop of school leavers. It's fast approaching 2:30. We're going to take a quick break, and then we are going to come back with Ondelambana with the 2:30 headlines. Our kids programming is coming through on the other side of that, and we'll wrap up the show with Dr. Ellison Bentley. She is the sleep doctor, and we're having a conversation around, just sleep hygiene. How much sleep are you actually getting each and every day? What is hindering your sleep from your side, and what can we do about it? So we'll be talking about that, because getting a good night's sleep is quite important for your mental health as well. We can't over exaggerate the importance of a good solid sleep for your mental health and mental hygiene. So we'll have the conversation with Dr. Allison.
This Women's Month, SAFM stands with the women shaping South Africa's future. Under the theme, Building Resilient Economies for All, we honor the pioneers, the problem solvers, and the everyday heroes driving change. Stay tuned as SAFM brings you powerful stories and meaningful conversations that move us. SAFM, celebrating women, celebrating progress. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation.
Thank you, Bridget. On the news headlines, the South African Social Security Agency has announced that it will be introducing a beneficiary biometric enrollment system at all its offices across the country from the 1st of next month. 2 people have been shot and killed at a taxi rank in Philippi East on the Cape Flats. Police spokesperson Malcolm Boyi says unknown gunmen opened fire at 6 adults aged between 35 and 43 earlier today, leaving 1 victim dead at the scene. And the Israeli military says it regrets any harm to what it calls uninvolved individuals in its latest strikes on the Nasser hospital in Gaza's southern city of Khan Yunis. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
Good afternoon, friends, and happy Monday. Welcome to our Monday edition of Kids Corner. I hope you're ready for another fun and thoughtful conversation. Today, let's talk about what happens when things feel a little too hard, especially at school or when you're trying something new. What do you usually do in that moment? Do you ever feel like giving up, or do you try again? When you're stuck, who do you usually turn to for help? Is it your teacher, a friend, or someone at home? And how does it feel when you finally figure out something that was really hard at first? What's one thing you can tell yourself to stay positive when things get tough? Alright, let's hear from some of our friends while you share your answers with someone next to you.
My name is Duruetsangenru, and I go to Mokoli House School. Whenever something feels too hard at school or when I'm trying something new, I make sure that I ask for help or I ask for a second opinion, which isn't mine, to clarify on what I may be doing. I do have times where I feel like giving up because it's not easy to stay consistent and it takes determination, which may not always be there. I do have days where I try again though, because maybe there's a better outcome to a situation I thought was unsolvable. Whenever I'm stuck, I ask either a teacher, a friend, or someone at home for help. When I figure out something that was really hard at first, I always feel happy and make it known to myself how smart I am and have always been, even through the slightest encouragement. Something positive I can tell myself when things are tough is that everything happens for a reason, and also you are never alone, so seek help.
Hello guys, my name is Prophet King David Ikena Eze, and I'm 11 years old and I learn in Parktown Public School. The thing I do when something at school feels too hard and I'm trying something new, that thing I'm trying to do that is new and I'm not doing good at it and it's hard, I ask somebody who is experienced with doing it. Yeah, I always feel like giving up, but I always try again, and eventually it works. Oh, this question, the person I ask when I am stuck in schoolwork, like I'm going stress in life as a young boy, that one true person, the real king, Jesus Christ of Nazareth. I feel very excited when I finally figure out something that was really hard at first. And the one thing I can tell myself when I'm trying to stay positive when things get tough is believe in Jesus Christ of Nazareth, aka the creator of earth, aka the creator of the universe. Amen. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mbalenhle Mhuzulu. I usually ask someone for assistance or pray about it for help. I do feel like giving up at times, but end up trying again until I get it right. When I'm stuck, I ask all of the above, a teacher, friends, or someone from home. I feel very relieved after figuring something out. One thing I can tell myself to keep pushing because it will be worth it at the end.
When something feels too hard, I try to keep going. Sometimes I feel like giving up, but I try again because I want to learn. I ask my teacher, my friend, or my family for help. When I finally figure it out, I feel very happy and proud. I can tell myself I can do it if I try again.
Greetings to you all. My name is Lorraine. I hope you all have a wonderful day and thank you so much for listening to me. What I do when something feels difficult and hard at school or when I'm trying something new is that I ask God for guidance and that I just find something that can calm me down. Whenever something is difficult, I feel like giving up most of the times, but I think again and I just say, let me just try again and see what the outcome of this is. When I feel stuck or something at school, I usually ask my teacher, but if I feel like it's homework or something else that has something to do with home, then I ask my parents or my brother. How I feel when I first figure out something that is really hard is I usually feel so relieved and so much calmed down now. And the one thing I tell myself when I find things too difficult is that God is always with you and you need to do your best and God will do the rest. Bye.
Hello, my name is Ndabadadam and I'm 11 years old. When something feels hard at school, I try again until I get it. Sometimes I feel like giving up, but I remind myself to be patient. I ask my teacher, my friends, or someone at home to help me. When I finally understand, I feel proud and happy inside. I tell myself I can do it. If I don't give up, I also feel stronger each time I solve a problem. It makes me believe I can do even bigger things next time.
Hello, my name is Bridget Masinga. The thing that I find hard to do is studying before a test. The extra effort that I make to be able to study is studying before they announce the date of the exam. Yes, there are a lot of my friends who help me with study. Yes, I think there will be a point where I finally say that it is easy for me to study.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Kabamba. One thing I find hard to do is learn how to speak or pronounce the language French properly. An extra effort I make to ease the difficulty is that I have an English and French dictionary, and I could download apps to help me understand more about this language. There is an individual that guides me to understand the language more, and that is my father. I am confident that one day I will be able to say, I finally got it. And that would be by constantly being consistent in learning and understanding more about the language and asking people who know how to speak French well to guide me.
Thank you, friends. It's always great to hear from you. Today, let's talk about something we all go through. Facing things that feel too hard. Sometimes at school or even at home, we run into challenges. Maybe it's learning how to read a big word, solving a tricky math problem, riding a bike for the first time, or trying out for a sport. In those moments, it can feel frustrating, and some of us may feel like giving up. But guess what? Every challenge is actually a stepping stone to becoming stronger, braver, and wiser. Here are some helpful tips to remember when things get tough. Take a deep breath and calm your mind. When we're upset, our brains don't think clearly. A deep breath gives us power to focus again. Break big problems into small steps. Climbing a mountain is hard, but if you take it step by step, you'll get to the top. Do the same with schoolwork or new tasks. Ask for help. You don't have to do everything alone. Teachers, friends, and family are there to guide you. Asking for help is not weakness, it's wisdom. Practice makes progress. Remember, no one learns something perfectly the first time. Even athletes, singers, and inventors practice for hours before they succeed. Stay positive with self-talk. Instead of saying, I can't do this, try saying, I can't do this yet, but I'm learning. Those little words change everything. Celebrate small wins. Even getting one answer right, drawing one better picture, or improving just a little is worth being proud of. And here's something very important, friends. Difficult times teach us patience, perseverance, and solving problems. These are the superpowers that help us not only at school, but in life. Now, next time you feel like giving up, remember this chant. I am strong, I'm smart, I won't give up, I'll do my part. You are braver than you think, stronger than you feel, and smarter than you know. Keep trying, keep shining, and soon you'll see. Nothing is too hard when you believe in yourself.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives. Who says talking never solves anything? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Early hours of the morning, our champions of democracy opened voting stations for us. 55% of the 27.6 million registered voters are women. We salute your strength and leadership. Late into the night, they count votes for us. Majority of women voted in the last elections. We salute women championing democracy and shaping South Africa's future. Make your voice heard at the ballot. All roads lead to the 2026 local government elections. Register or update your details. Show up and let your vote count. Here's to Women's Month. Women champion democracy. Visit elections.org.za for more or call 0800 11 8000. This message is brought to you by the IEC.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, Think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Bridget Masinga is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
All right, we are chatting to one of my fave experts, Dr. Alison Bentley, who is a medical doctor who's also a sleep specialist. And we're just checking in and having a conversation around sleep hygiene and how much sleep are you getting each night. And how do you begin to try and regulate some of your sleep if it's been disrupted? Because it's very important to get a good night's sleep. If really you don't, it can tie itself to issues around anxiety, depression, as well as burnout. How are you doing this afternoon, Dr. Allison?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I mean, I could be getting more sleep, but we'll get to that in a moment. Thank you so much for the time. Much appreciated. Let's start here with, just the relationship between sleep and mental health. And oftentimes it's described as the chicken and egg situation.
Oh, it is. And it's really quite incestuous how the two of them kind of work together. I mean, I think everybody knows if they have a poor night's sleep that they feel down the next day. We won't call it depressed because that's kind of a clinical diagnosis, but they feel down and they don't feel like they want to do anything. They just want to kind of curl up in a little ball and go to sleep kind of thing. And so we know that insomnia causes depressive symptoms, but we also know that if you have clinical depression, so you're diagnosed with clinical depression, you have a very high chance that you have insomnia. And in fact, insomnia is a symptom of depression. So it's in all of those questionnaires about depression. You're going to find sleep disturbance in there as one of the things. But we also have data now that if you have insomnia from any cause whatsoever, that you are much more likely to have depression later on in life. So it looks as though insomnia itself might increase the risk of you getting depression later. So you're going to have insomnia if you are depressed, but if you have insomnia, you're much more likely to become depressed and then have insomnia from depression. That's the kind of chicken and egg part of it.
Sure. And I mean, a lot of us, we've spoken before about, just the different sleepers, and not everybody sleeps the same. But there's also so much going on just from our socioeconomic perspective that a lot of folks are, ruminating so often about negative things and what could go wrong. And I wonder how much of that begins to disrupt one's sleep and how much of that begins to affect you getting a proper, healthy, balanced, regular sleep.
Well, that's also another chicken and egg kind of scenario, really, because we do know that if you're particularly anxious about something, so, I don't know, exams or something like that that's upcoming, then when you go to bed, your kind of mind is racing and it's harder to fall asleep. So that we know that happens, right? So there's that connection. But there's also what happens often is that people go to bed because, I don't know, they're bored or they think it's bedtime, but they're not particularly sleepy. So if you go to bed and you don't fall asleep quickly because it's the wrong time for you, let's say, or you've had a nap in the afternoon, so now you're not particularly sleepy when you go to bed. But if you lie in bed and you try to fall asleep and you're not sleepy, your head is going to go into crazy land. And that's where you start ruminating. And then that ruminating itself makes it harder to fall asleep. So it's really important, and that's where we talk about sleep hygiene. It's really important that when you go to sleep or try to fall asleep, that you are sleepy. You're sleepy. Then you're not going to spend hours and hours lying in bed trying to fall asleep and creating all of those negative thoughts. Which again, and particularly if you have depression, I mean, if you have depression, that just makes everything a whole lot worse because your thoughts are by definition negative.
We're also seeing a lot of people If you're paying attention to social media, we're seeing a lot of people are turning to platforms like TikTok, for instance, for mental health advice, Instagram. Everybody is a sleep specialist on Instagram.
Oh, no.
What are some of the pros and cons of sort of following the trends, or maybe even leaning towards these platforms for sleep-related information?
Well, honestly, for any medical information, I mean, it's the same kind of thing, is that people will often post on there what worked for them. And it might have worked for them. That's great. But it doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. And the sense that there is a one-size-fits-all for medical disorders, I mean, that would be lovely. It would make our jobs so much easier if everybody just responded the same way to the same medication for the same disorder. It would make it really easy, but that's just not who people are. People are just different. So there's lots of stuff, for example, on snoring. On TikTok and that kind of thing, like mouth taping and doing this and eating that and doing the next thing. And the point is, the problem with all of these platforms, you can put anything on there and there's no obligation for you to put any evidence that it works. So real evidence, we're talking research evidence. Our job as doctors is to use evidence-based medicine, i.e. we have evidence for what we use. The medication we use has been researched properly. And so we're supposed to do evidence-based. We're not supposed to go, well, I heard my sister's uncle's brother's cousin did that, and so let's try that. So it is supposed to be evidence-based, and that's the difference. I think that there's no obligation to provide evidence except it worked for me, and you don't even know if that's true either.
Yeah, that's the truth. I want us to take a quick pause here, Dr. Allison, and then we'll be back on the other side and continue our conversation. That was Dr. Allison Bentley joining us as we have a conversation around sleep hygiene. And I wonder how much sleep you are getting each night. Maybe you can use this time to also reflect and see if you are preparing yourself well every single night when you go to bed. Let's take a quick pause and then we'll come back on the other side.
It is time to experience spectacular football talent from 19 African nations. East Africa is on full vibration. From Tanzania, Kenya to Uganda, the pitch personnel are hungry for continental glory. This is the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Witness Jan 2024 on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 from 2 to 30 August 2025. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Gender-based violence is destroying lives and tearing communities apart. It happens in homes, in schools, at workplaces, and too often in silence. But it doesn't have to continue. If you see it, speak out. If you are hurting, reach out. Because doing nothing is not an option. Listen to all 19 SABC radio stations from Wednesday, the 23rd of July for hard talk, discussions, advice, dramas, educational shows and interviews around GBV with experts, survivors, lawmakers and a whole country affected by gender-based violence. All on your favorite SABC radio station. Call 0800 428 428 to report abuse or get help. GBV, it ends with you. This message is brought to you by the SABC.
A message from the Commission for Gender Equality as we commemorate Women's Month. The CGE highlights its 2024 report, Women in the South African Economy. And the findings show that despite economic programs and initiatives, women remain excluded or underrepresented in labor markets, land ownership, finance, asset acquisitions, paid care work, and rural economic decisions. The CGE continues to monitor, promote, and research gender equality with the goal of influencing policy and reforms that advance women's economic empowerment and transformation.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
We're in conversation with Dr. Allison Bentley. She's a medical doctor and sleep specialist, and we're talking all things sleep. I want to just sneak in a personal question here, Dr. Allison. I'm a new mom to a almost 10-week-old.
Congrats.
Thank you. And the big question that every mom
Not sleeping.
I'm not sleeping, and I'm trying to get into a sleep routine. You know, we were talking about getting advice from TikTok, and everyone is a specialist.
Yes.
And there's so many people that are selling sort of how I got my baby to sleep routine packages and workshops.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, okay, but how do I get the baby to sleep? Because I don't know if you are telling me the truth.
Yeah, exactly. So bottom line is there are babies who sleep through. I used to do a lot of work on baby sleep and see a lot of moms with babies who weren't sleeping. There are some babies who sleep through at 6 weeks, 8 weeks. They're not the normal. Okay, like they are the special ones. All right. Usually what happens, and the reason, it's very important, the reason why babies start sleeping through is because their circadian rhythms, that whole melatonin thing that makes sure that you are sleepy at night and you wake up during the day, that kicks in at around 4 months of age. And one of the circadian rhythms that's really important then is that at night the gut is resting. So if you have circadian rhythms, and that's why we can go to bed, we can wake up in the middle of the night, go to the toilet, we go back to sleep. We're not waking up starving.
Yeah.
We're not. And so that's because our gut is resting. And when we wake up at our normal time, then our gut kicks into action and goes, right, now feed me. Okay, a bit like babies do. So we have this long period at night where our gut is inactive, and if it's not active, you don't feel hungry. And until that process kicks in for babies, they're going to be hungry. So they have a 24-hour cycle. They don't have a night and a day, as you know.
Yes.
They don't have a specific night and a day. But at around 4 months, generally, that's what happens. And what we should see in babies is, let's say they're feeding the usual 10, like 6, 10, 2, and 6 during the night. Let's say, just for example, what we'll see is that they start dropping the 10 o'clock feed and they only wake up at 2 o'clock. And then a week or so later, they drop the 2 o'clock feed and now they're sleeping through. And they're sleeping through mainly because the circadian rhythm has kicked in and they're not hungry. But until that point, they're like any puppy or any young thing. They just need to be fed constantly. And so and also their sleep cycles are very short. So in adults, it's about 90 minutes. But in a 6-month baby, it's about half an hour. So every half an hour, potentially they can wake up. They usually don't, but they can wake up very often. And when they wake up and they're awake, they're hungry because their gut is constantly active.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay, that makes sense. You see, it's a good thing I didn't buy those Mommy How I Sleep packages because
otherwise, you end up hitting your head against a stone. You really are, because if baby is not ready to sleep through, they just won't, and you're just going to end up with drama and a screaming child. And honestly, let's be honest. The only reason why we're having this conversation is because you work.
Yes.
You actually have a life outside of the home, which I'm not saying is bad at all.
Yes.
It's a good thing. But it's only that, because if you were at home and that's all you did, you wouldn't be having this problem because you'd nap during the day, you'd like catch up, you'd do that. So it's kind of a social construct. Does that make sense? Like we're sitting there wanting our babies to fall to sleep through as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
But there's a biology. Yeah, there's a biology that you're fighting, and I'm afraid you're unlikely to win that one.
I must just go with the flow. Okay.
Go with the flow.
I'm sneaking in one more question about this baby situation. Sure. Now that we don't wake up at 3, so her feeding is normally 6, 7, 9, 10 p.m. So every 2.5, 3 hours or so. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, somewhere around there. But there's been moments last week where I was like, I think her sleep patterns are changing. And I had to wake her up at 3 o'clock in the morning. She didn't automatically start fidgeting herself. Should I let her just sleep through the night, or should I wake her up?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. The mantra is, at night, do not wake a sleeping baby. I mean, why would you do that? You want them to sleep, let them sleep. Honestly, if she wakes up and she's hungry, she'll let you know.
Yeah.
There's no discussion about that. So it's not as though she's not in any danger at all. I mean, she'll just what will happen is it just won't be at 3 o'clock. It'll be 3:30 when she wakes up. That's the only difference it's going to be. So maybe she just fed really well at midnight. And so she's got a little bit extra calories to last her a little bit longer. But look, if you're awake, it's really frustrating to lie there and go, okay, so I'm awake now. Would you please wake up so that we can at least sync this because I'm going to go back to sleep and you're going to wake me up in the deepest of deepest sleeps.
So true. Well, I appreciate the advice. I'm not going to go against the biology. In our last 2-3 minutes, insomnia is something that a lot of people struggle with. But I read somewhere that insomnia is also not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Oh, no. Mm-mm. No, it's not. There's so many causes of insomnia. For example, there's over 190 medications that have insomnia listed as a side effect.
Ooh.
You know, everything from ARVs to cholesterol medication to steroids to all kinds of things can cause sleep problems. So can medical disorders. You know, if you have pain, you're not going to sleep well. Then there's restless legs, sleep apnea, depression, anxiety, whole bunch of other things, and environmental causes. So your baby would be counted as an environmental cause of insomnia for you. Okay.
Makes perfect sense.
Too hot, too cold, living close to a taxi rank, living close to a shebeen, all of those are environmental causes that I think we underestimate the impact of those kind of things on our sleep.
Very interesting. So you're launching a new insomnia and cognitive behavioral therapy. Tell us about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so you know we want people to be able to get diagnosed with the right kind of insomnia, and then if they need, the cognitive behavioral therapy is really a behavioral program to manage insomnia. So it's difficult to find people who do the CBTI, and so what we're saying is we're going to be doing a clinic. If you've been told you need to have CBTI, then you at least know where to go.
Okay. And where's the clinic, Dr. Allison?
So it's in Parktown. So it's in Parktown in Johannesburg.
Okay.
So people can literally just email us to get in touch. So it's just RE, so capital R, capital E, sleep clinic at gmail.com. And they'll get hold of us.
Lovely stuff. Dr. Alison Bentley, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for the time.
Likewise.
And the advice, I will not disrupt a sleeping baby at 3 o'clock in the morning.
No,
you are a rock star. That was Dr. Alison Bentley, a medical doctor and sleep specialist. resleep@gmail.com is where you can email them if you suffer from insomnia. They're launching a new insomnia and cognitive behavioral therapy clinic. And she does amazing work. I was at my OB today and I told them that Dr. Bentley is going to be on the show. And it turns out that my OB's nurse and her family had been patients of Dr. Bentley many years ago. Yes, when she was still a practicing GP who, was still getting into the world of sleep therapy and sleep focus. So she's got a great reputation for the work that she does. If you do suffer from some kind of sleeping situation, you might want to be in contact with them at resleep@gmail.com. That's all the show we have for you today. Ashraf is coming through between 3 and 6. He's going to keep you company for the remainder of the afternoon. From myself and my team, we will see you tomorrow. Inshallah, God willing, we do it again.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365. Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za.